Hi guys, welcome to Lucky Boots' channel. Texturing along the boot here, and you can see further down the boot more holes just to be taken advantage of, but unfortunately not these ones. It's almost like we're being teased. to use for your laces, but as a result they've had to reinforce this part of the boot with more polyurethane. And what this means